Welcome to the SportsHeads NFL Betting Podcast, sponsored by RedZoneSports.Bet. Want to know what's hot and what's not in American football? Join me, Tony Fennell, and my co-host, John Stone, as we break down every game this week. All right, John, here we go. Week 9. Can you tell me how you did in Week 8, though, mate?
Well, didn't do as well as Week 7, but I did get 7 winners out of 13. So
right.
One a little bit over 500, 17 out of 39 overall. Still struggling with the over and under and spreads.
Don't we all, mate?
You damn NFL teams. But doing good, and I think we have some good choices this week, too.
Lovely. All right, let's get going. Week 9, Game 1, Buffalo Bills at New York Jets. What about the Bills, John?
Yeah.
They need to be taken seriously, and they're well on their way to ending the NFL's longest playoff drought.
Yep.
Did you know that?
No, I did not know that,
right.
actually.
Sunday's 34-14 victory over the Raiders shows the team that are on a roll. 5-2 at the season's halfway point is the franchise's best team since the early 90s.
Yeah.
In fact, they're just half a game behind the Patriots for the AFC East. That, my friend, is insane.
That is.
As for the Jets, well, now this is a team sitting at 3-5, and the question is it time to go for one of the younger quarterbacks? McGowan's played good. You know, he played great on Sunday. He even got 2 touchdowns. But with the season slipping away, maybe it's time to start thinking about breaking in one of the new boys.
Yeah.
I can't see the Jets doing it on Sunday, the switch or the win, by the way. I'm taking the Bills, John. How about you?
Yeah, Bills are giving 3 on the road, so Vegas agrees with you. 43 over-under, I think that's fine. Yeah, Bills were terrific over the Raiders. Tyrod Taylor was able to just manage the game, only made 20 out of 27 completions, 165 yards, 1 touchdown, but no INTs, no sacks. Very good. 8 different receivers caught passes for positive yards from him. That's terrific game plan execution for the Bills. Another great rushing game. LaShawn McCoy, their running back, 27 rushes for 151 yards and 1 touchdown.
That's good.
And their defense clamped down on Oakland. Oakland's rushing game, 14 for 54 overall. 2 interceptions on Derek Carr. So they're really hitting on all cylinders right now, and I like these guys. I think they're going to be a force in the AFC this year. Jets, what can you say? Same old Jets, unfortunately. Lost a tough game to Atlanta at home in a monsoon at the Meadowlands. Outscored 12-3 in the second half. First time Atlanta's actually held a lead and extended it. They were only trailing by 4 at the half, and they had an opportunity in the fourth quarter to take the lead if they had not muffed a punt.
Every single week this
Every
goes
week.
on, John.
It's like they just can't help themselves. McCown was decent, 26 of 33, 2 touchdowns, no INTs, to get sacked 3 times, but no rushing game. Bilal Powell, 2.4 yards per carry. They did at least try and rush it, 22 rushes overall for 43 yards, Ikes, but they did stick with it at least. Rushing defense on the other side gave up 123 yards to a tandem of Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman, Atlanta running backs. Injury-wise, Buffalo has some holes on D, but nobody knew, and I think they're filling in quite nicely. New York Jets defensive end Ed Stinson and cornerback Morris Claiborne are questionable. Wide receiver now is coming out. Jeremy Curley may be suspended due to a drug violation.
Ouch.
So that may also be a problem for them. Jets don't look good against the Bills. They haven't for a while. They're 2-5 against them since 2014. Muhammad Wilkerson, their linebacker, is not even practicing due to injuries, and they have some dings across the board for them. Buffalo, in the last game, they did play once already this year. Bilal Powell and Matt Forte were held to 13 for 38. Buffalo rushed 42 times compared to 28 pass attempts. That's their formula. If they keep doing that, they're going to win out. Or not win out, but they're definitely going to win a lot of games. Sean McDermott, their new coach, I think he really has Buffalo believing, so I'm going to go with them. Buffalo's definitely going to win this game. Jets are not going to beat that spread, and I'm going to take the under.
All right, Week 9, Game 2, Baltimore Ravens at the Tennessee Titans. The Baltimore Ravens now stand at 4-4 and are 2 games behind current AFC North leaders, the Steelers. Now, as for the 4 losses, though, each one was an utter embarrassment. And you can't help but think, matey, that it's just a matter of time before the next one arrives. I say this, though, because they look great when they killed the Dolphins 40-0 in Week 8. And Joe Flacco looked fantastic.
For him.
For him, right. For Tennessee, quarterback Marcus Mariota is back to full strength. This comes nearly a month after straining his hamstring.
Yep.
That is a major plus for a team who now sit at 4-3 and still have a legitimate shot at having a serious run in the playoffs. This will be a close one, but I see Tennessee taking this at home, John. What about you?
Yeah, Tennessee is giving 5.5 at home, 43 over under. I can agree with that. Yeah, the Ravens are like the Jacksonville Jaguars. You never know who's going to show up. When they show up, they're terrific. When they don't, they're terrible. So we'll see. Ravens overall, the last game they had against Miami, they crushed them. Jai, the new Eagle, did not do very well against Baltimore's rush defense, 13 for 23, but one of those rushes was for 21 yards, meaning that he was 12 for 2 against them otherwise. Miami's rushing overall 19 for 45. Matt Moore, oof, boy, he got hurt. 2 pick sixes against Baltimore's rush defense.
He looked like a different quarterback to me.
Yeah, well, he was not the knight in shining armor for them, that's for sure. Baltimore's rushing game was strong. Second-year running back Alex Collins had a career high, 18 rushes for 113 yards, long of 19.
Nice.
Baltimore overall, 40 rushes. Love that number. 40 rushes, 174 yards overall. Also, their kicker, Justin Tucker, hit a 55-yard field goal. Woo. So they hit it on all cylinders in that game. Joe Flacco did get knocked out of the game, late hit by Miami linebacker Kiko Alonso, but they are saying that he should be okay for this game. His concussion protocol is showing no ill effects from that. Titans, they did have a bye week last week, did not look very good for the Browns in the win before. An overtime win, 12-9, a lot of field goals in that game. Defense did hold Cleveland, which is awful anyway, on offense, to 284 yards overall, 66 rushing, 3 interceptions of Cleveland quarterbacks. Their running backs, they're pretty good, but they were fair in this one. 31 rushes, though. That's a good sign for them. They need to keep the pressure off Mariota. Injury-wise, several holes on offense for Baltimore. Wide receiver Mike Wallace and running back Terrence West are out. As I said, Joe Flacco looks like he should be able to play, which will be good for them. No injuries for Tennessee. At the end of the day, Baltimore's passing defense is number 1 in the league with 12 interceptions, number 12 in sacks with 19, and number 5 in passing yards with 185 yards per game. So Mariota is going to have his work cut out for him.
He is.
That running game is going to have to work for them. I think this one you can really throw either way, but I'm going to go with Tennessee at home. I think they do have some work they can do. Baltimore's rushing defense is god-awful, so they should be able to run the ball. I'm going to say Tennessee will win this game. Baltimore will beat that spread, though. I think it'll be close, and I'm going to go with the under.
Week 9, Game 3, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New Orleans Saints. Unfortunately, Tampa Bay's second-ranked offense and first-ranked passing attack hit a speed bump on Sunday.
Yes, you can say that.
All right, now at 2-5, they need a win. They need one now.
Yeah.
But they're facing a New Orleans team that has won 5 in a row. This will be a tough one for them. The Saints, well, they were at home to Chicago, and with some questionable calls by the ref and some excellent play as usual from quarterback Drew Brees, they came away with a 20-12 victory. Now sitting on 5-2, they look playoff bound to me, and I can't see him slowing down anytime soon, John. Who will win? Drew and the boys will own this one. A walk in the park comes to mind. It's all the Saints. John, are you with me?
Yeah, Saints are giving 7 at home. I think that might be a little low, frankly, with the way they're playing right now and the way Tampa Bay's playing, more importantly. 50 over-under, so Vegas, I think, is expecting some points in this game. Buccaneers, what can you do? Real problem for them, unfortunately. Looks like Winston's shoulder may be a problem, and if they lose him, boy, they're flatlining for the rest of the season. 21-38 for him against Carolina in an ugly loss, 17-3. 210 yards. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 3 sacks. So they really had his number. Doug Martin, he was okay. The running back, 18 for 71, but he had 1 long run of 17 yards, meaning he was 17 for 54, 3 yards per carry otherwise. Defense did hold Cam Newton down. That's not that hard to do.
Oh,
exactly.
there you go.
Your buddy. He was only 18 for 32 for 154 yards. No sacks, though, and he did run for 11 rushes for 44 yards. So Buccaneers, they had their hands full across the board with that team. Saints, they looked good against the Bears. Didn't have to do too much, but they did it. Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, the running backs for New Orleans, were very solid. 26 rushes, a good sign. 103 yards combined and 2 touchdowns. Drew Brees basically could manage the game, but man, what numbers he had.
Yeah.
Even though no touchdowns, no interceptions, 2 sacks, but 23 for 28 for 299 yards. And he is the 3rd quarterback in NFL history to reach 6,000 completions.
Is he really?
Completions.
Wow.
I mean, that is saying something. This guy is a rock star. I've loved him ever since he came out of Purdue. Jordan Howard for Chicago. The Saints defense held Jordan Howard, the running back for Chicago, to 23 for 102. That doesn't sound like that's great, but 1 run was for 50 yards, so otherwise they really held him down. 2.4 yards per carry. Injury-wise, Jameis Winston, the quarterback for Tampa Bay, is questionable with a rotator cuff, and they also have holes in the secondary. Guard Larry Warford is out for New Orleans, but I don't think that'll be a big deal. Tampa Bay's, was very interesting. Tampa Bay's passing defense has only 7 sacks, 5 interceptions against 12 touchdown passes allowed this year. New Orleans' passing offense has given up 7 sacks, has 4 interceptions, and has scored 11 passing touchdowns. Rushing offense for New Orleans, 4.2 yards per carry and 118.7 per game. Tampa Bay's rushing defense is giving up 3.9 yards per carry.
That's interesting.
111.7 yards per game. So it's really weird how the two are like the mirror of each other.
Absolutely.
If you see those numbers, I think you're going to see New Orleans win, which I agree. New Orleans is 4-2 against Tampa Bay since 2014, but the average margin of victory is only 5.8 points. So I think that spread is a little high. I'm going to go with New Orleans to win this one, but I think it'll be close. Tampa Bay beats the spread, and I'm going with the under.
Week 9, Game 4, Los Angeles Rams at the New York Giants. Stop it. Right. The LA Rams, fresh off their bye week, are 5-2 for the first time in 14 years.
Seems like a lot longer.
Look, they look to be firing on all cylinders. The offense, the defense, and special teams are all giving it some, my friend. As for the Giants, look, Sunday's a must-win. Yes, there's a number of star players out for the team, and when Eli Manning, your franchise quarterback, who has struggled significantly, by the way, is the subject of all sorts of rumours, including finding his games potentially numbered, which is insane. You know you're in trouble. There's even talk of ex-Jets quarterback Geno Smith.
Oi.
Yeah, you heard me. Sheesh. Anyway, let's face it, Sunday will belong to Los Angeles, I'm afraid to say. The Giants will be staring at 1-7 for sure. The Rams for me, John, how about you?
Yeah, they're giving 3.5 on the road. I can't imagine the last time the Giants were getting points at home. 43.5 over-under, I think that's fine. Yeah, bye week. The previous week, of course, Rams were in Old Blighty.
That is so.
Stomped on Arizona and knocking Carson Palmer out of the game, but they look terrific. Jared Goff, a nice managerial sort of game, 22 of 37, 235, 1 touchdown, no sacks, was very important. Jeremy Gurley, my favorite running back right now, 22 for 106 rushing, 1 touchdown, 4.8 yards per carry. And more importantly, 4 receptions for 48 yards. He's
Big
a
numbers.
real multifaceted back. Very, very good for them. Overall, the Rams ran it 40 times. Well, I love that number. 197 yards and 2 touchdowns against Arizona. 5 different players had positive yards from scrimmage against Arizona's number 13 rush defense. No pushover there. Giants, what can you say? Back to nowhere. They're also coming off a bye week, but 2 weeks ago they were terrible at home against Seattle. Eli Manning, get this one, 19 of 39 for 134 yards. You know what that translates to?
Nope.
3.4 yards per attempt.
Good Lord.
Now, that's passing, folks, not running.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 touchdown. How he got that, I don't know. No interceptions and 1 sack. My buddy Orleans Darkwa, he didn't do very well against Seattle. 9 of 35, 3.9 yards per carry. Still did better than Eli throwing the ball. And the overall G-Men, 17 for 46, nothing going on there. They also gave up a lot of yards, particularly to Russell Wilson, the quarterback for Seattle. 334 yards and 3 touchdowns. Injury-wise, there are a lot of questions on the Giants, both sides of the ball, but definitely wide receiver Sterling Shepard is questionable, and others are dinged up. Nothing for the Rams. Oh, that's no good. That's not good news for the Giants. Yeah. The only time you hear is Eli Manning right now is either he's not doing very well or they want to trade him. So.
Well, look, it's the 31st of October, right as we're doing this right now. Who knows?
Maybe there's a midnight madness somewhere. You may be winding up out.
Probably not.
Not. I don't think so. I'm not sure anybody wants him, frankly. I hate to say that. And I like Eli, but Rushing defense not doing very well, giving up, this is the Giants, 120.7 yards per game, so Jeremy Gurley should have a good game.
Yeah.
Passing defense, they do have 13 sacks, but only 4 interceptions versus 14 touchdowns given up, so that's not very good. End of the day, Rams are cooking right now. I think this will not be a stumble for them. I think they look good on the road. Rams will win this game. Giants, unfortunately, will not beat that spread, and I'm going to take the over.
Week 9, Game 5, Denver Broncos at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Broncos are, check this out, 11-9 in quarterback Trevor Siemian's 20 career starts.
Wow.
Now, that's pretty good for most teams, but with the Broncos' quarterback history, it's pretty brutal.
Right.
Peyton Manning, John Elway, by the way, who's involved in a lot of the team's decision-making.
Yes.
The weight on this kid's shoulders must be huge, and it's showing.
Yep.
You go to the Eagles... Good Lord. Well, they beat San Fran on Sunday and we're coming off that massive win on the Monday Night Football against the Redskins.
Yep.
With their Week 10 bye in sight, there's a worry in certain circles that they may lose focus prior to their week off. I say not a bloody chance.
Yeah.
Even with an average performance against the 49ers on Sunday, John, they still look like the team to beat for me. At home, with the wind in their sails, I'm calling it the Eagles all the way. Are you with me, mate?
Yes, sir, and I think everyone feels that way. Eagles giving 7.5 at home, 44.5 over-under. Broncos, another frustrating loss last night against Denver. Trevor Siemian, 19 of 36, 198 yards, 1 touchdown, but 3 interceptions and 3 sacks. Running back by committee for them was not bad, but it was also Kansas City's rush defense, which is bad. 31 rushes, which is good to see they're at least trying to. 177 yards and 1 touchdown. Defense against Kareem Hunt was actually good, but that's one of Denver's strengths. No one runs the ball on them. They're number 1 in the league. 22 rushes for Mr. Hunt, 46 yards, 2.1 yards per carry. That will be his low point of the year, I'm sure. Alex Smith, he did okay. He didn't get a lot of completions, 14 for 31 and 202 yards. Only 1 touchdown and no interceptions. But there was no answer on the Broncos for Kansas City tight end Travis Kelce. 7 catches in 10 attempts, 133 yards and a touchdown. So that was really good. The good sign for them, if you have to find one, and I guess we do, Siemian did complete passes to 10 different receivers, so if they can spread the ball around and get that running game going, they may be able to sort of get themselves in a little bit better position to win some of these games, but I'm not sure they can do it. Eagles, yep, another dominant performance, even though they weren't spectacular, they got the job done. Carson Wentz, 18 for 32, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Corey Clement and LeGarrette Blount, well, I hate to tell you guys, but you're not going to be getting that many carries anymore, but they did get 26 rushes for 102 yards. Because today, during the trade, they picked up Mr. Jay Ajayi from Miami.
Insane.
So I guess it's a fire sale down there. It must be the Marlins owner is the owner of that team. But yes, so Mr. Jay Ajayi is going to be coming in and running the ball for the Eagles. That has now just boosted them to a 7-1 favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. I don't know if that's that big a difference.
I can see him doing it with this guy, man.
Yeah, they already have a good running game in place, so he can really come in and take care of business for them. It's going to be great. The defense for the Eagles held San Francisco to 238 total yards, got a pick 6 off of C.J. Beathard, and held running back Carlos Hyde to 12 rushes for 25 yards, 2.1 yards per carry. Blech. In fact, C.J. Beathard, their quarterback, was their leading rusher too. Ouch. Injury-wise, some questions on the offensive line for Denver. Wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders and linebacker Todd Davis are also questionable. Philadelphia linebacker Jordan Hicks and cornerback Ronald Darby are out. Cornerback Patrick Robinson is questionable, and offensive tackle Jason Peters, he's a big part of their game right now, is on injured reserve, so that may force them to make some changes. Overall, look, you have two teams going 2 different directions right now, and Philadelphia picking up Jay Ajayi, that may be the final piece to really push them over the top. This game for sure, if he plays, which I'm sure he will. Philadelphia is going to win this game for sure. Denver will not beat that spread, and I'm taking the over on this one.
Week 9, Game 6, Atlanta Falcons and Carolina Panthers. The Falcons ended their 3-game skid with a game that was far from inspiring, I got to say, but hey, they got the job done.
Yep.
Matt Ryan had a good game. And the rain didn't help him, though, obviously.
No.
But they're sitting at 4-3, and that leaves them still in the race for the NFC South.
Yep.
For the Panthers, Sunday's 17-3 win in Tampa didn't eliminate concerns about the offense, which really didn't do much against the league's third worst defense.
Ouch.
But my favourite quarterback in the NFL, Cam Newton, he did enough to have Carolina now sitting at 5-3. Not too shabby.
I say.
But I'm taking Atlanta here, John. I think they've got the tools to go to Carolina and get that result. Am I mad?
No, you're not. Panthers are only giving 2 at home, 43.5 over-under. I guess one win against the Jets gets everybody getting on the Falcons bandwagon again. But I do like the Falcons right now, mainly because they've got Julio Jones and Mohamed Sanu back, and they were very good against the Jets in that monsoon. Combined for 9 catches for 148 yards and a touchdown. Matt Ryan was efficient, 18 for 29, 254, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, only 1 sack. Of course, the Jets can't sack anybody. And Atlanta's running backs, very good sign here too. 26 rushes for 123 yards, and their defense did very well against the Jets' rushing game. Of course, Panthers don't have a rushing game either, so I think you can see this being another single or, another one-dimensional effort for the Panthers.
Yeah.
Their defense, Panthers, speaking of them, they dominated against Tampa Bay. Cam Newton carried the team, quote unquote. 18 for 32, 154 yards, 1 interception, 1 touchdown, no sacks, but 11 rushes for 44 yards. Again, Mr. Newton was the leading rusher for the team. Ouch.
All joking aside, the kid's got it. I mean,
he's great, but if you have to cook the meal, serve it, wash the dishes, and close the restaurant, it's going to wear you out eventually, and that's what we're seeing.
Point taken, mate.
Yeah, the defense got 3 turnovers off of Tampa Bay, 2 interceptions and a fumble. Their punter, Carolina's punter, Michael Palardy, averaged 50.4 yards per punt and had 4 drop inside the Tampa Bay 20, so he's a resource for them.
Yes,
they're going to need it when you have an offense that doesn't do that well. Surprisingly, though, this is a fact I did not know. Number 2 in the league in third down efficiency is Carolina at 44.8. They have a lot of third downs to work with, so I guess that's it. Injuries. Atlanta, Devontae Freeman is questionable with a shoulder, but I'm sure he's going to play. Carolina, nobody knew, but tight end Greg Olsen and center Ryan Khalil's absences are still obviously hurting that offense. These are 2 teams that you still wonder what the heck's going on, and they're still just trying to stay within shouting distance of New Orleans in the division, which really looks like they're seizing control right now.
Yep.
Trap alert for Atlanta. They have Dallas coming to Atlanta next weekend, so they shouldn't overlook this anyway. I mean, it is a divisional game, so they want to do it. Carolina's rush defense is number 6 in yards, only giving up 3.8 yards per carry, 81.6 per game. Devontae Freeman is number 5 in the NFL with first downs at number 29. He has made 29 first downs for them. This one's hard to call. Carolina's defense could clamp down. That's basically how they have a winning record right now. But I liked what I saw in the rain with Atlanta, especially with Sanu and Jones catching the ball and Freeman running the ball. I'm going to take Atlanta to win this one too. I do believe that Atlanta will beat that spread, obviously, and I'm going to take the under.
Week 9, Game 7, Cincinnati Bengals at Jacksonville Jaguars. The Cincinnati Bengals managed to seal a win on Sunday that defeated the Colts 24-23, mostly due to a late pick 6 by defensive end Carlos Dunlap.
Completely.
To be honest, mate, it was one of the few highlights on a day where the Bengals did their best to lose the game, let alone win it. As for the Jags, they're coming off their bye week and should be good and rested for this one. This team is averaging 4 sacks a game. And at this pace, the NFL record set by the Chicago Bears in 1984 is history. With the Jags at 4-3 and the Bengals at 3-4, it'll be close. They'll slug it out. But I'm saying the Jags will nick this one, John. What do you think, mate?
Jags only giving 4 at home. I think that's because people don't know who's going to show up. My guess is that Hyde showed up during the bye week, so they're going to come back and play as the Jacksonville Jaguars. 39.5 over-under. Boy, that's a little low, but yeah, sure. Neither offense is going to do much, I think. Bengals comments, they were the Bungles. They almost blew it again against the Colts. 1-point home win over a terrible Colts team. Passing defense gave up 25 or 39, 233 yards and 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns to Jacoby Brissett. Wowza. Frank Gore, he even looked good for them. 16 for 82, 5.1 yards per per carry. Yeah, they had checked out of this game. I don't know why. They should have lost, but they didn't. Joe Mixon, their running back, I don't know what's going on with him. He's only 11 for 18 rushing, but 3 for 3 receiving, 91 yards. Is he a wide receiver? Is he a slot? I mean, what do they got? They got to figure out what to do with him because they have no rushing game, and that's going to crush them eventually. Jaguars had a bye week, but before that, they dominated the same Colts team that almost beat the Bengals 27-0. Blake Bortles even looked great, 330 yards against a terrible Indy defense. So 2 weeks later, he should come back and play well again.
There you go.
And their running back, TJ Yeldon, remember him?
Yep.
Yeah,
no.
Sure, why not? You will now. 9 rushes for 122 yards with a long of 58. Jacksonville rushers overall, 37 for 188, 2 touchdowns. They look great. Injury-wise, Cincinnati guard Trey Hopkins is questionable for Cincinnati, and tight end Ryan Hewitt is out. Jacksonville running back Leonard Fournette is also questionable. It'd be good to see him come back.
Yeah.
Jacksonville's passing defense, as you said, is lethal. 33 sacks, 10 interceptions against 4 touchdowns given up. In yards given up, 162 passing yards per game. Their passing defense is superb. Their rushing defense, on the other hand, is terrible. 27 in the league in yards.
Welcome to the NFL,
138.6 yards per game. Hey, Mr. Mixon, if you want to show that you're actually a running back, maybe you want to try running against Jacksonville, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. This one, as I said, Jacksonville is either Jacksonville or Hyde. I think they're going to be Jacksonville this week. Hyde showed up last week. I'm sure they had terrible practices. I'm predicting actually 1 pick 6 for each team, the way Bortles throws the ball and the way Jacksonville gets them. So I'm going to say Jacksonville is going to win this game. Cincinnati will not beat the spread, and I'm going to take the over.
Week 9, Game 8, Indianapolis Colts at Houston Texans. The Colts came away Sunday with more questions than answers, I think. They've now lost
How did we lose that game?
Exactly. They've now lost 3 in a row for the first time since 2015.
Ouch.
I know, right? At 2-6, it's hard to see how they're going to get the season turned around. That is unless Andrew Luck gets back to game shape sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I can't see that happening, to be honest.
No.
The Texans, well, they had a funny old week prior to Sunday's game, and maybe owner Bob McNair's inmates running the prison comments filtered into the dressing room. I do hope not.
Yeah.
Even though they ended up losing to the Seahawks 41-38, Deshaun Watson is fun to watch. And I think he went toe-to-toe with Russell Wilson for most of the game, to be honest.
Absolutely.
I see the Texans shaking off Sunday's loss and taking this one nice and tidy. Texans for me, John. How about you?
Yes, sir. Giving 13 points at home. Ouch. 48.5 over under. It is the Colts, so I guess that's reasonable. Colts, what? Oh, God, Colts. What's going on? I mean, turnovers, they just did everything wrong. They should have beaten Cincinnati. They didn't. Their offense actually looked good against Cincinnati's decent defense. 331 yards overall, 115 rushing. Numbers you do not hear about from Indianapolis this year. Their rush defense held Cincinnati, who doesn't have a running game, to 21 for 58, 2.8 yards per carry. And Jacoby Brissett completed 25 passes to 6 different receivers.
None of these are bad numbers.
No, they're not.
So what is going on there, mate?
I mean, I think the wind was taken out of their sails when they lost Luck. And I think they just are not... They're not ready to compete in this league right now with the talent they have on the field. On the other side, if you're talking about talent, the Texans have a boatload, even though they've had some bad losses on defense, as we already know. Quarterback Deshaun Watson is a rock star.
Yes.
Even the Seattle Seahawks were, like, very, very impressed with him. They really love this guy. And when you're saying that he went toe-to-toe with Russell Wilson, you're absolutely right. But remember, the Seahawks secondary is killer.
Yeah.
And obviously, Houston's is terrible. So I think he actually came out ahead in that equation. He just was terrific. 19 of 30, did have 3 interceptions, including a pick 6, but you should expect that against Seattle. Was sacked 5 times as well, but 402 yards and 4 touchdowns. He looked like a rock star, and they could have won that game. They should have.
This kid will shake that off.
He's going to shake that off. They get him really working solid. He's going to be terrific. Their pass defense, however, needs a lot of help. Yeah. They were terrible against Seattle's Russell Wilson, giving up 26 for 41, 452 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and only 2 sacks.
Not great.
Houston rushed for 34 times, which is always a good sign, 142 yards and a touchdown, except, unfortunately, Mr. Watson was also their leading rusher, which you know I hate. 2 running backs combined for 26 for 75, only 2.9 yards per carry. Houston's rushing defense did crush Seattle's quote-unquote running game, which they don't have one. Besides Russell Wilson, 17 rushes for 3 yards. Hey, ouch! Injury-wise, nobody new is out for Indianapolis. All you got to know is that Andrew Luck is still not playing.
Yep.
Houston holds on the defensive line, obviously, and offensive tackle Chris Clark is out. There is only one extra point in this game. Deshaun Watson, how many touchdowns is he going to be responsible for throwing and running the ball? Trap alert, though, Houston, watch out. You have the Rams next week. That's going to be a big game in Week 10. But I'm going to say definitely Houston wins this game. I'm going to say Indianapolis beats that spread. Even for them,
right.
I think that's a little high, 13 points. And I'm going to take the over in this game.
Week 9, Game 9, Arizona Cardinals at San Francisco 49ers. After 7 games, there's a lot we know about the 3 and 4 Cardinals, and not much of it is good, to be honest. Their defense is one of the worst in the NFL through 7 games, and their quarterback, Carson Palmer, broke his arm in Arizona's Week 7 loss to the Rams, and it doesn't look good, to be honest. As for the 49ers, not a lot to say there, John. Actually, sorry, mate. And at 0-8, you can safely say the season's over. But hey, this is the NFL, and with this season, you never know.
Yeah.
All seriousness, the Cardinals are going to have the edge here, mate. I'm saying Arizona to win. How about you?
Yeah, Cardinals giving 2.5 on the road, 39 over-under. I'm not sure what the big trade for the 49ers. I'm not sure why they made that trade for Jimmy Garoppolo as quarterback.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions with that.
Did the Patriots let him go because they couldn't afford him?
I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of... This will shake out over the next week or so. It just didn't seem to make sense on either side. Tom Brady, I mean, as great as he is, you can slip in the shower and he's not going to play for the rest of the season. Who are you going to put in there?
What's this kid going to do? Sit on the side and go, Tom, you're great? Come on!
Exactly.
Won a game.
He will get to play in San Francisco. It doesn't look like Mr. Garoppolo will play in this game. However, they're saying C.J. Beathard will still start, but we'll see what happens. I think in my mind that actually flips the script. With the Cardinals, they had a bye week last week. All you got to say about them is the only thing that made them even remotely good was Carson Palmer, and now he's a broken arm and he's out. That's over. Adrian Peterson, their running back, can he carry Arizona? I don't think so. 11 for 21 against a pretty porous Rams team defense, 1.9 yards per carry in London against the Rams. So I don't see him carrying the ball for them and carrying their offense at all. Pass defense also gave up 247 yards per game this year, 14 touchdowns overall, so not good.
No.
49ers, another ugly loss at Philadelphia. Not much to say there. C.J. Beathard was not very good. Gave up a pick 6, sacked 4 times, 2 interceptions, only 167 yards. He was also the leading rusher for San Francisco, unfortunately for them. Carlos Hyde was 12 for 25, 2.1 yards per carry, a long of 12. That meant on all of his other runs combined, 1.1 yards per carry.
Ouch!
Ouch. Defense is did what it could, They did hold Wentz to 1 interception and 3 sacks, but he gave up 2 touchdowns passing and 102 rushing yards, so just too much for their terrible offense to overcome. Injury-wise, of course, the only thing you really got to know for Arizona is Carson Palmer's out. Also, running back David Johnson is out. San Francisco, they have holes on the defensive front and offensive tackles. Joe Staley and defensive end Solomon Thomas are doubtful. What will Garoppolo do for San Francisco? I'm not sure. That said, in this game, I think Arizona is in a tailspin right now. Honest to God, I like Bruce Arians, but I just think they got a clean house.
Yeah.
I think Arizona just has to clear it and start from scratch, go through a couple of bad seasons. Look, you have all these quarterbacks potentially coming out for the NCAA. Sam Darnold, Rosen from UCLA, Mayfield from Oklahoma, Jackson from Louisville. These are great quarterbacks. Why did you trade for Garoppolo, San Francisco? What are you thinking?
I guess they're going to have a run. What are you talking about?
That's another day. Yeah. In this head, I am going to actually pick San Francisco to win this. I got to win eventually, and Arizona's primed to lose. San Francisco will beat that spread, obviously, and I will take the under.
Week 9, Game 10, Washington Redskins at Seattle Seahawks. With 13, and I said 13, 13 players on the injured list, you've got to feel for Washington.
Yeah.
So what do you do? We're at the halfway point. Washington are at 3-4. Look, the Eagles will definitely take the division at this point, but the Redskins are still in with a shout for the playoffs. Are they going to trade today? What have they done?
I
Nothing?
don't know. I don't know. No, I didn't see anything.
We've got till midnight tonight, mate, to find out where they decided to go, trade or not. We'll see. Seattle's offense was cranking week 8, and let's face it, we're going back to Russell Wilson again.
Yeah.
He was brilliant in Sunday's victory over Houston.
Amazing.
If I had to find a problem with the team, I'd say where's the running game?
Yes.
Look, you can give the ball to Wilson, and he'll make it happen for sure. But is this a sustainable model?
No.
Can the offense put this much responsibility on the quarterback week in and week out? Probably not, right? But it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. Wilson and co should put this away pretty easily, I think. Seattle for me, John, yes or no?
Well, it's always fun until somebody gets hurt. And
There you go.
That's potentially what can happen here if they keep making that poor man carry that team on offense.
Week
talking
in,
about Mr.
week
Wilson.
out.
Seattle giving 7 at home. I think that's fair. 45 over/under. Yeah, you really do have to feel for the Redskins, and I've never been a fan of that team. But I do like Kirk Cousins a lot, and they're really getting a bad deal this year with injuries. Unfortunately, Seattle took all of the offensive linemen that were available, which is desperately what Washington needs. So I'm not sure there are any trades they can make that'll make a difference. Tough loss at home to a revived Dallas team, let's admit that. Rushing defense gave up 169 yards to Ezekiel Elliott and other Dallas rushers, 150 to Mr. Elliott himself. Kirk Cousins tried to carry the team, 26 of 39, not bad. 263 yards and a touchdown and an interception, but 4 sacks. Rushing offense was MIA, however. Running back by committee for the Redskins, 15 for 49, 3.3 yards per carry. What can you do if you are the quarterback on a team that cannot run the ball? That is always going to be a problem for them. Crucial miscues really turned and sealed this game. 10-point swing in the second quarter on a blocked field goal that turned into a touchdown for Dallas. A pick 6 in the fourth quarter sealed it, and lost fumbles by Cousins and kick returner Chris Thompson really just did not help them. Yeah.
Game over.
Seahawks, man, they won the game of the year over Houston. I was watching that game. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe how good. That looked like an old AFL game. Russell Wilson was superb, 26 of 41, 452 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He also had 4 rushes for 30 yards. Unfortunately, Seattle, as Tony, you said, he was their leading rusher, so they got to figure that one out.
What a rock star, though, man.
Oh, he's phenomenal. Defense gave up many yards and points, 509 overall to Houston and 38 points, but they got 3 interceptions, and they did get a pick 6 off of Deshaun Watson. That was really the difference in the game. But again, their running game is terrible, and they're going to have to figure that out. Wilson was the leading rusher. All the other rushers were 17 for 3.
Wow.
Yes, that's 3 yards, folks. Injury-wise, Washington tight end Jordan Reed is questionable. That'll be a loss if he can't play. Other holes on the offensive line, as we've been talking about, is making life miserable for poor Kirk Cousins and whatever rushing game they're trying to do. Safety Earl Thomas for Seattle is questionable with a hamstring, but I think he'll play. He's a warrior, I'll tell you. Washington's offensive woes, as we've been talking about, are tied to their banged-up offensive line. But neither team has a running game, so if it comes down to the quarterbacks, unfortunately for Washington, that is a big advantage to Seattle.
Yeah.
The other thing for Washington, wide receiver Terrell Pryor. He was supposed to come in and really boost. I said early in the year that he was going to be a big boost to them. No receptions in this last game, and he's now being called a bust. He's actually apologizing to the fans for not doing well. That's never a good sign. So I think for this game, for sure, Seattle's going to win this game. I don't believe Washington is going to beat that spread. They just don't have enough tools on offense to overcome that Seattle defense, and I'm going to take the over in this game.
Week 9, Game 11, Kansas City Chiefs at Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Right, after letting the ball slip out of his hands on the very first carry, Ezekiel Elliott bounced back from his fumble to run 150 yards and got 2 touchdowns. Yeah. When you got a guy like this running the ball and a quarterback like Dak Prescott, you've always got a chance of winning games.
Yes, sir.
But, and here's the big but, I like big butts and I can't not like right now. With the news that Elliott is now out, can the team make the adjustments and win the games? That's the big one here.
Yeah.
For the Chiefs, Marcus Peters led the way in Monday night's victory over the Broncos, and the Chiefs ended their defensive slump, and more importantly, their 2-game losing streak squashed.
Yes.
Facing a Cowboys team who we now know will be missing Elliott with his suspension reinstated, it couldn't get any better for Kansas. For me, John, I see a Chiefs team getting the win here. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting that, yes, Elliott did not win his appeal. However, they're saying he may still try again.
Oh, come on.
I know. Well, and this is something I'd like to talk about.
Did this just happen in the cab ride?
Yeah, this is something I'd like to talk about a little further down on this one, because I really think this is one of the problems for Dallas.
Well, let's talk about it right now.
Uncertainty. Well, here's a perfect example. All right, so you don't know each week whether Ezekiel Elliott is going to play for you.
Good point.
Now, this is a huge part of your offense. He's also critical to making Dak Prescott a better quarterback, because Dak Prescott can't carry a team at this point in his career. I think he can eventually. But I like to call him Easy-E, has 164 rushes for 690 yards and 6 touchdowns this season.
Ow.
He also, and I think not more importantly, but very importantly, 19 catches for 220 yards and a touchdown in this season. Now, his 2 potential replacements are Alfred Morris and Darren McFadden. Now, Darren McFadden has no record whatsoever this year.
Right.
Previously, in 2016, 24 rushes for 87 yards. There's no answer. Now, Alfred Morris was brought in just in case this thing went through. He's got 13 rushes for 105 yards and no touchdowns, and he has 1 reception for 9 yards. That actually came on Sunday in 2017. So when you have a huge part of your game revolving around this running back, and you don't know week to week whether you need to practice with him, whether you need to practice with Alfred Morris, whether you need to just chuck it and start throwing the ball all over the field, that is a big problem. I think the games they've lost this year I'm not blaming it all on Ezekiel Elliott, obviously, but I think that's a big piece of the puzzle for Dallas. And I think if he continues to try and fight it, instead of just taking his medicine and missing those 6 games and letting them play a better, figure out how to win without him, that's going to be a real problem for Dallas.
Mate, that is serious insight.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're more than welcome, sir.
That's it.
Right. Here we go.
Caveat. Dallas is giving 1.5 at home, and it's a 50 over-under. I think you're going to see a firefight in this one.
Yep.
They may want to outdo Houston from this past week. Kansas City defense, wow, they actually helped them win a game against an anemic offense, arguably, but whatever. Alex Smith, their quarterback, was not great against Denver. You wouldn't expect that. 14 of 31, 202 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 sack. Kareem Hunt was also terrible. 22 rushes for 46, but he had a 15-yard run, which meant he had a 2.07 yards per carry average. Again, you're talking about the number 1 rush defense, and they geared up to stop him. The big star for Kansas City against Denver, Travis Kelce, their tight end, spectacular. 7 catches, 133 yards, and a touchdown. And their defense got 5 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and 2 fumbles on Denver. So they actually helped. They turned up. They did well. Also, their rookie place kicker, boy, this kid came out of nowhere. Harrison Butker. He came off, I believe, the Carolina practice squad when Kansas City's kicker got injured. 5 for 5, including a long of 51. That's a big, in those winter games when you're not going to be able to run and throw it all over the field. That's huge when you can have a kicker that can give you points.
You got it.
Cowboys, big road win in Washington. Are they back? I'm going to say probably not. Just because of this Elliott issue that we've been dealing with. The rushing game was terrific, of course. Dak Prescott, that allowed him to be a game manager, which is what he is very good at right now. 14 of 22, 143 yards, whoop-de-doo. No touchdowns, no interceptions, but he let everybody else win the game and carry, and he did his job, which is just what he needed to do.
Yeah.
Dallas special teams were terrific, and defense, 4 sacks. Washington rushers held to 49 yards on 15 attempts. They blocked a field goal. They had 2 fumble recoveries, a pick 6. They did it all. And Mike Nugent, their place kicker, 4 of 5, along of 48 in bad conditions at Washington. It started pouring down. Another great sign for them. Linebacker Sean Lee is back, and he was back big. 9 tackles, 5 solo for Dallas in that game. Beautiful. So that's a great sign for them. Injury-wise, Kansas City linebacker Justin Houston and guard Lauren Duvernay-Tardif, my new favorite guy in the league, with name-wise, are questionable. Dallas wide receiver Cole Beasley is questionable on concussion protocol. Nobody else knew. As we talked about, what is going to happen? Will Elliott still fight? Will he try and go to another court? Will he do?
Of course he'll fight.
Or is he just going to say, look, let's get this over with? He comes back during this year. It's not like they lose him for the rest of the season. So
somebody in management needs to sit him down and go, hang on. We need to talk.
Yeah, I agree. And who is it? The only one that can really do that is Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones is out prancing around, talking about how that idiot owner of the Houston Texans is a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
If Elliott plays in this game, I'm going to call Dallas to win this. Kansas City's rush defense is god-awful, so he should run amok if he's there. Kansas City will not beat the spread, and I will take the over. However, if Mr. Elliott does not play, I'm then going to flip it and say Kansas City's going to win this game. Kansas City will beat the spread, and I will take the under in that case.
Week 9, Game 12, Oakland Raiders at Miami Dolphins. Oakland got their pants handed to them by the Bills Week 8. This Raiders season, a campaign, by the way, that began with a ton of promise and potential is basically over. At 3-4 and 4 ugly losses in October. I'm seeing a team that's probably already thinking about next year, matey.
Yeah.
As for the Dolphins, brutal Week 8.
Yeah.
This team is now in freefall, and Sue's grabbing of quarterback Ryan Mallett's throat Thursday night shows you where this team's at the moment. It's toast. And you can say bye-bye to Sue, by the way, at the end of the season. He's gone. Dolphins, they're going to make any moves today, do you think?
Well, their move was getting rid of their only good player.
They're bringing no one in.
Nobody in, no. They got a 4th round draft pick for that, so boy.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
This will be a slug-it-out kind of game for me, John. But I'm going with the Raiders with this one. It'll be ugly, but they're going to take the win. Raiders for me. What about you?
Yeah, they're giving 3 on the road. That says something about the prospects of Miami and their offense. 44 over-under, that might be a little high, frankly. Neither team can really play offense right now. Raiders, they were outclassed on both sides of the ball in a bad loss at Buffalo. Rushing game was nowhere, so they really were missing Marshawn Lynch, even though he wasn't that great anyway. As a team, they were 14 of 54 against the Bills. 3.86 yards per carry, but if you take out 2 rushes for 24 yards, you have 12 for 30, 2.5 yards per carry. Not much. Derek Carr, their quarterback, unfortunately, he can't do it by himself. 31 for 49, 303 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, but it didn't really make a difference. Rushing defense gave up a lot of yards to the combination of LaShawn McCoy and Mike Tolbert. For Buffalo, 2 touchdowns, 166 yards on 31 rushes. Dolphins, wow, what a disaster. I mean, I thought they were going to win that game, and they get blown out 40-0.
Murdered comes to mind.
Of course, Matt Moore, he had a whole week to prepare, and clearly he didn't read the book. Save us, Jay Cutler. I mean, they need him back. They say he may be back for this game. I guess that is some light at the end of the tunnel, although that tunnel's a lot longer than they think it is. Jay Ajayi was terrible. Of course, he's gone now. Miami's defense gave up 174 yards rushing. Unfortunately, they're still there. To Baltimore, 2 passing touchdowns to Joe Flacco and Ryan Mallett. Ryan Mallett, woof. No interceptions, no sacks. Joe Flacco, by the way, had been sacked 17 times in the previous 7 games. So Miami just didn't even show up. I guess Sue wanted to just grab people around the neck instead of actually play defense.
Crazy play. What is he thinking?
That guy was a disaster on Detroit. I don't know why he keeps getting picked up. He shouldn't be playing right now. I mean, he's just got problems.
This could be it.
This was the 2nd shutout for the Dolphins, by the way, this year. In a league where you can basically score, just waking up in the morning. Oakland injuries. Many holes on defense, and wide receiver Seth Roberts is questionable. Miami safety Nate Allen is questionable, and wide receiver Devontae Parker is out. No Ray Ajayi for Miami made a terrible offense even worse. Jay Cutler, Adam Gase, their coach is saying will play. We'll see if that makes any difference whatsoever.
He's got to play, to be honest.
Yeah. Marshawn Lynch on the other side for Oakland. He was supposed to be a nice fit for that team and make them a much more viable offense. He's number 33 in yards, averaging 38 yards per game. And Miami has the number 7 rushing defense in the league, so I don't see too much going on there. The real loser of this game? NBC for having to show another terrible game on Sunday night.
Yeah.
That said, my prediction, I'm going to go with Oakland to win this. I think Miami is basically going to mail in the rest of the season. Oakland will beat that spread, and I'm going to take the under.
All right, John, wrapping it up. Week 9, Game 3. This is the Monday night game. Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. The Lions, who are now 3-4, were coming off its bye week Sunday and lost a third straight. They're fourth in 5 games, by the way. Losing to the Steelers 2015 was yet another blow for a team that need to turn this run of form around now or start thinking about next year. Matt Stafford needs help, pure and simple. As for the Packers, they come off their bye week and Aaron Rodgers isn't coming back until at least midway through December. Frankly, I think he's out for the year.
I agree.
But the team believes in backup Brett Hundley, so it's not all lost here. Are you ready for this? It's going to be bye. Sorry, the bye week. I thought it. No, okay. It's going to be bye to one of these teams this week. I think it's going to be the Lions. It's the Packers for me to win this one, John. How about you?
Yeah, Lions giving 2.5 on the road at Green Bay. When's the last time that happened?
Yeah.
That was probably before Don Majkowski was their quarterback.
Or Rodgers was born.
Or Rodgers was born, exactly. 43 over-under, sure. I can see that. Lions, a tough home loss to Pittsburgh, overshadowed Matt Stafford's decent game, 27-45, 423 yards, but no touchdowns, no interceptions, and 2 sacks. Detroit's rushing offense was, again, nowhere to be seen. Amir Abdullah, 11 for 27. He had a long of 8. That meant that he was 2.4 yards per carry otherwise. Team overall 22 for 71, so what? Detroit's passing defense gave up 317 yards and a touchdown to Pittsburgh quarterback Ben Roethlisberger.
Big Ben!
Including a 97-yard touchdown to rookie wide receiver, my new favorite name, Juju Smith-Schuster.
Can you say that again?
Juju Smith-Schuster.
Nice.
Don't ask for a third one. I'll probably bite my tongue.
Yeah, sorry.
Packers, they had a bye week last week. They needed it after losing Aaron Rodgers. They're trying to regroup after losing him. I think he's out for the season. I agree with you, Tony. The problem here is he broke his collarbone a couple of years ago, but it was the non-throwing arm.
Yeah.
This is the throwing arm that is really potentially can devastate him. I mean, he may not be able to play again.
Yeah.
I think he will, but, probably not this season.
Yes.
Anyhow, defense running game is going to have to carry this team. Their pass defense is number 13 in yards, 12 sacks, not so much, 6 interceptions versus 9 passing touchdowns. Their rushing defense, however, is giving up 125.7 yards per game. Aaron Jones, a bright spot for them, the good Aaron now, the healthy Aaron.
The only Aaron.
Their running back, 5.6 yards per carry, only 57.7 per game, but in his last game against New Orleans, who aren't that bad on rush defense, 17 rushes for 131 yards and a touchdown, so that's a good sign. Brett Hundley, their quarterback, he's going to need it. 30 for 58 so far this season. 264 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions, and 5 sacks in 2 games. That's not good numbers. Detroit, they have some holes on the offensive line. Wide receiver Kenny Galladay is also out. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers is out for Green Bay. That's really all you need to know. When was the last time Detroit was giving points at Green Bay? I think that's, even for me, that's a little adventurous for Vegas, but why not? Green Bay is going to stack the box against Abdullah, make Stafford throw the ball. Detroit has given up 25 sacks this year, so I'm sure Mr. Clay Matthews is going to be champing at the bit to get to Mr. Stafford. Pass defense for Detroit, only 13 sacks, but they have 10 interceptions against 10 touchdowns, and their rushing defense is number 4 in yards, 3.6 yards per carry and 91.4 per game. That said, I feel bad for Green Bay. They could come out and have an inspirational game, one of those Rudy kind of games from Notre Dame, but nah. I'm gonna take Detroit to win this one. Detroit is gonna beat that spread, and I'm gonna take the under.
All right, that wraps up this week's show. See you next week.